I'm Shane Hoefer, and this is where I sit down with some of the most interesting individuals that come into my life.
So I'm Brian Alberts. I'm the owner of Lawton Corp. We are a product innovation company. So we are a newer company within Thrive. We've been here for a few months. It's been truly a great experience. We really like the open space, the community that's in here, just the general experience of kind of the vibrance and the energy, just kind of the feel of the space really helps our team to be creative and just brings out the best in who we are and what we're looking to do. As a product innovation company, this space and its kind of flow and feel and energy and vibrance really helps the team to kind of bring out their best. And we really like the people that we get to share the space with. We enjoy the community in the sense of kind of entrepreneurial spirit and just kind of general overall kind of enthusiasm, vibrance. I think in general, because you have such a interesting mix of people who work here in different in different businesses and different areas of subject matter expertise, it just gives you a nice diverse set of kind of opinions and perspectives, and generally is beneficial to what we do. So.
Hi, my name is Erin Dooley, and I am the owner of Sidekick Web Studio. I've been at Thrive for almost 6 years now, so I like to think that I'm one of the oldest members here. Thrive has been great because I have been able to scale my business with Thrive, and they've supported me every step of the way. I started out in the general area working up there when I very first started my business, and I was the only employee. Once I hired another employee, I moved to a small office in the corner in the back over there, and now that I have 4 employees, we've moved into a larger office on the corner. So Thrive has been great, just helping me scale and allowing me to grow as the business grows. They are always there for me, whatever I need, whatever I ask, and I couldn't have done it without them.
Hey, my name is Mike Reff. Our company is Hey Mister. We've been at Thrive for about 3 years. We like Thrive, and I like Thrive because it's a great space. It's really friendly people. It feels very comfortable. It's a good place downtown, and even though our office is in the basement, we have a lot of natural light, and everyone's very nice. We like STACY and the whole team here, and we just like Thrive. They do cool stuff.
I'm Shane Hoefer, CEO of Rocky Mountain Forest Products, and today I'm sitting down with STACY HODGES, community manager among many other talents, mentor. But one thing I want to start off on about you, STACY, is the reason that we're even having this podcast. When our staff came down and they kind of took a look at this facility, one of the things that really stood out to the staff and my wife in particular is just what a nice, personable person you are. And you're very easy to be around and to talk to. And I found that yesterday, and we chatted on the phone briefly. So I would honestly say that's probably one of the main reasons that you're sitting here. So thank you very much for taking the time to sit down with us.
Thank you for having me.
So today we are not in our usual environment. As you see, we are down at the Thrive co-working space, very close to Coors Field. So where do we want to begin? You want to start talking about yourself and kind of give us your background, then we can talk about Thrive and what it's all about.
Sure. I got my start it's kind of funny. I was bartending in my 20s, wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with myself, just kind of taking a little break, a breather to have some fun. And I went to rent an apartment and was asked to interview for a position because I hit it off with the people that I was chatting with about leasing an apartment, and started my career there with
that's the being
management.
Personal thing going on again.
Started there with property management. Then I fell into commercial real estate because I leased an office manager, a regional manager, I should say, one of the offices down at 1600 Glenarm Place. And he said, I think I have a position for you. I wasn't ready to leave yet. And when I was, I called him and he said, that one's not available, but try this out. It wasn't what I thought that I would be doing for the next 13 years, but that's how that all played out, working with Marcus & Millichap and Cushman & Wakefield. And pandemic hit, and took a little bit of, again, a breather. Do I want to be in commercial real estate during a pandemic? And fell into this situation right here through a friend.
So from our conversation yesterday, and you kind of hit on it here, it seems like you've gone through like career changes right when major economic upheavals are occurring.
100%. Yes, I was really lucky. I was very, very lucky with all of them, really, because when I started with Marcus and Millichap, I was working with a distressed and non-performing group. So we were focusing on bankruptcy cases, and it was very, very clear to me as to why we were in the situation we were in.
So this like 2008, 2010-ish?
Yes, seven,
7 and 8, okay.
Yep, so I was digging through these bankruptcy cases and looking at the schedules and seeing how over-leveraged these buildings were. And it was shocking to me, you know, so we would take a look at what was a possibility and how we could possibly sell that for the court at that point, which was a really long process, but I mean, it kind of helped my research skills for sure. I became a little bit of an internet detective, figuring out what was what and who was who.
So you've stuck with this general industry for over a decade. You must like it.
I did like it. I still like it. There's a grind to it that is really easy to fall into. And when you're working with good people and you're part of a good team, it can be extremely rewarding. I was very fortunate. In my time with commercial real estate, I only worked with 2 teams really, helped out another broker. But a lot of people kind of find themselves bouncing around. And I found a home with the people that I was working with because I was able to create my role and make myself indisposable and important and be a team member rather than a support. So it was great while it lasted, but again, it was kind of like pandemic hit, and you know, we were selling office and retail buildings, and there's a killer virus going around.
Yeah.
So I kind of sat there and I went, well, how's this gonna work? So I mean, this kind of came along, this opportunity with Thrive, because one of my girlfriends, her boyfriend at the time, has a place up at Tradecraft, and he was having lunch with Bryce, and Bryce was talking about needing a community manager, and I had just had dinner with Rob and Molly and several friends, and everybody made fun of me because I brought store-bought baked goods, even though I was the one who had time on her hands to make dessert, and I didn't. But, you know, it all worked out. He said, I think I have somebody who would be great for this. I met with Bryce, talked with him, and you know, it's all fallen into place.
That's
My mom
great.
jokes. She says I stumble up.
You stumble up. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, it's for a parent. She's happy to be able to say that.
Right.
But you know, if you are going to stumble, figure out how to make it stumbling up.
So let's go back to when the pandemic hit. How did you deal with the uncertainty of that time? Where were you at mentally?
Mentally, it was tough. Mentally, it was really tough. I went through a bit of a breakup. I was, you know, living by myself, which I wasn't too sad about, I'm not gonna lie. Like having my own space and being in control of my workspace and doing all of that was kind of nice. But there was always the worry, you know, I worried about my family, I worried about my friends, I worried about my coworkers, my team, you know, what was that gonna look like for us, you know, financially, and what's gonna happen, because you know, we're all spread out, and I found that I'm a lot more effective in person. I can get things I need in person and help and answers rather than emails and text messages and chats and all of that. So I really, really felt the effect of not being able to speak face to face.
100%. I think it really highlighted for a lot of people how much we take for granted just what face-to-face communication is. You know, we had it every day, didn't really appreciate it, and then when it goes away, you're like, wow, is this doable? Yeah, but it's not the same, and it's not fun.
Yeah, there's something really genuine about being face-to-face with someone. You can say just about anything in a text message or an email, and you can question the tone. But when you're speaking with somebody and you're sitting down and you're getting your message across, or you're understanding what they're saying, it's just a game changer. So it was tough. It was really hard. And our office, you know, I was working the day that it finally shut down after a couple of more scares. And we all just kind of watched this pandemic come our way like a tidal wave. And when it finally hit, none of us knew what to do. So it was hard, but I mean, I was happy everybody that I wanted to be okay was okay. Let's just say that.
Sure. Well, it was definitely one of the industries that was hit the hardest. I mean, if
Yeah.
you can't go into work, and all of a sudden, how are you supposed to get new tenants? What are you supposed to do with this stuff? There's no demand.
Well, and there's also a lot of questions that
Yeah.
we had to, and my group was amazing with this. We flat out said, we don't know. We're not going to give you some faux answer that hopefully in the next couple of months something will be figured out, because truly we don't know. What we can guarantee is that hopefully when this is all done, we're going to be here for you. We're going to be help you figure out what you need, how we can still work with you.
Yeah.
With commercial real estate, there's always a buyer. You know, there's always a buyer for a certain situation. We kind of found that out with the last recession. There's the guys who have been sitting, waiting. This was their perfect time to wait for those steals and deals as
Yeah.
everybody started to, lower their prices based on what was going on in the world. So, there's always a way to kind of get out of it, but it'll be interesting to see, and I think the recovery is going to be a lot slower than some people would like to
Yeah.
see.
I did see there were several different people that I had heard that they were doubling down on commercial office space as the first year the pandemic was coming to an end, from the aspect that people are craving human interaction. So although a lot of companies proved we can work virtually, remotely, that they saw that it was better for their culture and for morale and everything if we can get under one roof and have that water cooler talk happen
Yeah.
again. And I know that that's invaluable for Rocky Mountain, like just the impromptu conversations that happen when you run into someone who's microwaving their lunch or something like that. That sparks an idea that ends up becoming the next great thing that your business does. That's what you miss out on in the virtual environment.
You do, you really do. But I think that's why hybrid environments are being adopted by a lot of companies, and a lot of the bigger companies at that, because they're recognizing that they don't need this huge, floor plate of a footprint in an office. They don't need all the overhead that's involved with it, and they can still provide professional work environments and have people work from home. It's becoming a benefit, if you will, and something that people are looking for when they're searching for new jobs. So, the companies that are saying, we want you all back in the office, everybody needs to be here on this date, there's been some pushback on that, I think, from their employees. So it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out, because people are also realizing, as we've seen in some industries, say like the restaurant industry, if you're not making the money that you want to make, go look somewhere else, because right now everybody's kind of hiring again.
Yeah.
And you can work remotely. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. It'll be interesting to see how it goes down.
So let's segue into Thrive here, and this is one of the more amazing co-working spaces I've ever seen. Now I haven't been to like a million of them, but I've been to a few.
Yeah.
Man, if I were if our business were really small, just a handful of people, or I were a freelancer, independent contractor type, I would love to work in an environment like this.
It's a fun environment. It's different. The second you walk in, you realize that it's a little bit different. It's laid back, but we have everybody in here with a common goal, and that's for either them as an individual, say like a freelancer, or their business to just succeed and excel. So we might be in like jeans and sweatshirts and all that kind of stuff, but that doesn't mean that individual's drive is any different.
Yeah.
I went from the environment of they can tell you have a tie on just through the phone to now, who cares? Just show up to work and get it done and, crush it. So it's a fun place, and it's fun to have all of the different, companies and individuals in here. It's incredibly eclectic.
Yeah, give us an example. What are some of the different industries that are represented at Thrive currently?
We have Galvanized Law, who's in construction law. We have cyber security, which is through Randori. We have Hey Mr. Digital Media, which is focusing on social media and getting all of your messages out with your company. They do so many other things, but that is their fine-tuned specialty. We have a chiropractor in here, Dr. Kalem and Dr. Oakley. They have Active Health. And then we have Health Aware, which is right next door to them. They deal in the business of blood. We did a blood drive with Children's Hospital for them not that long ago. So as you can see, we just have a little bit of everybody that's in the space.
Yeah, I think that's really neat. The diversity of it all. It's a different kind of water cooler talk that would occur around here in this type of environment.
Yeah, it's a lot of people being able to relax, have a conversation that has nothing to do with their business if it doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
And be able to just have a little bit of a brain break when they step away from their desk. Just checking with Charles. Charles, how are things going with you? Charles Marr of Lars Langberg Architects. You know, those kinds of things I think are fun for people because you learn a little bit
Yeah.
about something that you may not know. And then you're also just taking a break for your own sake at the same time. But what we're starting to do is these curated happy hours. We did one for construction, architecture, and engineering. And the goal there was to bring all of our Thrive members, not just here, but we have 3 other locations. So every single Thrive member that had something to do with that industry, and have a happy hour because we found that common denominator, which everybody has. You know, a lot of networking events is like, who are you and what do you do?
Right.
And you're really starting from the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, this, we already had that done. Now it's, who are you? How can I help you? How can you help me?
So was it successful?
It was. Galvanized Law hosted it. We had a lot of people attend. We had 35 attendees that evening, and it was great. We even had somebody just pop in who was looking on Eventbrite for something to do that evening and a networking event, and saw the space and going from there.
Wow, that's
yeah,
awesome.
It might become a tenant. So
Very cool.
yeah.
So how are you seeing things evolve as we're in the ever evolving scenario of this pandemic? How are you seeing demand for office space evolve this year?
We started around 40% in November when I came on, and we are over 70% at this point,
wow.
which is great. We
Yeah.
are definitely seeing the demand start to increase, especially after Memorial Day. I think everybody took their holiday and wanted to feel that, okay, I got to go back to the office on Tuesday. The vaccine had rolled out, which helped us immensely. The mask mandates were able to come down a little bit. So I think that that's really kind of the catalyst for how we found ourselves in this 70%. But now what we're trying to do is really encourage our members to help curate this community. You know, bring in your professional affiliates, bring in, you know, your friends if they need a space like this, to kind of like help push us into this next realm, like help build your own community is kind of the way that we're looking at it. Because we have a lot of people that come in and we have a great online presence, but I really kind of want to focus on, that's one of the nice things about a co-working community, is focusing on who will be in here.
Sure.
Who's a great fit. So when I get to tell somebody when they come in and they're looking, I think you're going to love it here. Like, there's something genuine about that because I think that there'll be a perfect piece of the puzzle to come on in.
Well, maybe one of your future events could be brunch.
Yes. I mean, I would host it. I would put everything together. It would be
That would be the
absolutely
one event that you would
fantastic.
absolutely spearhead.
Absolutely. Yes. My brunching is notorious. I love it. If I can brunch, it's like the best thing ever. I want to sit on a patio with my friends, have some drinks, have some laughs, be able to go home, get up the next day, do whatever I need to, make, you know, laundry, meal prep, all the Sunday stuff.
Yeah.
Or whatever, and still feel good.
So what
You
is
know?
your brunch beverage of choice?
Ooh, I'm an Aperol Spritz girl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whenever someone says brunch, I always think mimosa, so.
You gotta branch out a little bit. You know, you gotta shake it up. You have to be careful.
Yeah,
with
give us
your
the
choices.
ABC. Give us your, as a professional bruncher, give us your
As a
advice on how to get the most out of brunching.
As a professional bruncher, I would say stick with the light drinks to start out with. Don't go in too hard. You know, nobody wants to like get out of control too fast.
Yeah.
If it turns into an extended brunch, that's fine. But you know, keep it a little classy for starters. You know, I always say if there's a cinnamon roll on the menu, order that for dessert. If you're at Bordeaux, do that at the beginning of your meal because they'll hold it and reserve it in the back just in case they run out. Little tip there.
Gotta hang out with her for
You need to come to brunch. Yeah, but I mean, really, it's just about who you're with. I have amazing friends, and I have like people that I enjoy spending time with on such a level that it is encouraging and supportive, and there isn't any sort of competition or anything along those lines. That at this point, it's like those are the people that I choose to spend my time with.
That's
So
cool, because not
really,
everyone has a friend circle like that.
I'm fortunate.
Yeah.
I recognize that. I have 3 friends that I went to high school with, so we've known each other since we were about 15. And we do a quarterly dinner, and we get together for birthdays and stuff like that because that's like my core. You know, those girls knew me before life got real
Yeah.
and before we had to grow up and do all that. But I have another group of girlfriends that we get together every single Christmas, and we have our girls' Christmas party, and one of my friends kicks her family out. It sounds terrible, but it works for us. And we take over the house, and we have girls come in from out of town, and it's just one of the best nights of the year because you have all of these great people that have been asking about you and supporting you, and you want to know what they're up to and how everything's shaking out in their life. And it's just, I don't know, it's a really good feeling. It's almost like therapy. The time I leave, my sides hurt from laughing, and I'm kind of sad because it's over. But it's something that we all look forward to every single year.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, to find people that are outside of your family that will provide unconditional support and love, I think is really rare. So if you have people like that in your life, don't let them go because they're true, you know, and to find more than one of those, I absolutely recognize how fortunate I am.
Totally loaded question here. How does someone find friends like that?
Oh, I mean, I think that this is going to sound bad. I think sometimes you have to shake up the bunch. You know what I mean? Like, I think that you have to obviously go in and be honestly who you are, but the fact that they can make you feel comfortable and you can be ridiculous or silly or whatever it is, or say something that might not be something that people want to hear. You know, like, it's not always about the support. You know, I feel like if you can have somebody check you, that's necessary as well. Like, I would take any of their advice if they said, okay, I think you might need to redirect a little bit. Like, maybe try this avenue or do this way, so that this may not be so successful for you if you want to take that approach. I would be all ears because I know that it comes from a place of genuine concern and care. So, yeah, but I mean, if they won't tell you, are they really your friends?
Yeah.
You know, that's very fair weather. So these are all people that I have very open and honest relationships with, and same with me. And it's just, I don't know. You just gotta be true to who you are. Be you.
Are you a naturally extroverted person, or are you more introverted?
I need both.
You both?
I need both. I think the pandemic really kind of let us all know that maybe we're all a little more introverted than we thought, because you had the people that were like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to stay home. Like, holy crap, this is going to be tough. But I was like, sweet. I don't have to cancel plans. I don't have to, say no. This is going to be kind of nice. I love my going out, but everybody knows that if I've got plans on Friday, you're probably not going to see me on Saturday. I need my decompress. I need my me time.
Yeah, I need recharge time.
Recharge. It's like a self-care.
Yeah.
And I think that people kind of frown upon it a little bit. Like, you're not live up life, stuff like that. I am living up life. I'm just doing it my way. It all doesn't have to look the same.
100%.
So the recharge is so important for me. I need the quiet. I need to do the things that I need to do to feel caught up, reduce the anxiety, and then I'm ready to go again.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the thoughts I was having as you were telling me about your friend group, I was thinking about just kind of modern society and how social media plays a role, and everyone feels so connected, but they're actually so alone. You're actually, I think you're bucking the trend in that you have such a friend group that has a physical presence that spends physical time together, as opposed to counting your Facebook likes or your Instagram followers.
Yeah, I mean, I personally believe that, I know that social media is supposed to be all light and love and all of this kind of stuff, and it isn't supposed to be too heavy. But at the same time, I do recognize sometimes when it comes off a bit false. Things aren't
There
always
becomes a
happy.
pressure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Things aren't always happy all the time, and I don't want to see a photo of you crying or anything. But again, the physical presence is super important, because when I see all of that and I don't see the person, I wonder, okay, like, this is all a little too good to be true. Like, let's get real. Let's get down to brass tacks here.
I think it's just the nature of it. My wife and I were talking about this earlier this year. Like, yeah, you're not going to put out the dark moments, and so then it ends up looking like you're trying to put on this false front of everything's roses all the time, and that's just not the human experience.
Right.
So I don't know. I have mixed feelings. I mean, I think social media is actually it's an incredible tool. It's a very powerful tool, and I'm a fan of it. But sometimes there's a pressure and a weight to it that, like, I haven't had anything fun, interesting in it for a season, and so, like, I haven't posted anything or whatever. You're like, how weird that these are pressures that we deal with today, as opposed to just going and hanging out with some friends. And Sometimes like a good
Yeah.
friend is just someone you can sit on a couch with and not saying anything.
Yes. My best friend and I will sit on her back porch and just talk nonsense, truly, probably for, hours. And it's something that we can do any day, even if we've seen each other recently. It just is easy. We were at a baseball game years ago, and this couple was sitting in front of us, and we went to the baseball game, and I don't think we watched any of the baseball game. We drank beers and chatted the entire time. Thankfully, this woman's husband had earphones in, because I think he probably would have told us to shut up. But when they were leaving, she walked by us and she leaned over, and I was like, oh crap, we're about to get yelled at. She goes, I just had the most fun listening to you guys. And I was like, huh. I know, come to brunch.
Yeah.
Right? Take a girlfriend to the ball game. It's just it's spending that time in person. And my friend group, when we found out that all of this was happening, there's an app called Marco Polo, and you take a video of yourself talking. So it's almost like a video walkie-talkie type of system.
Okay.
So I get on there and I make a statement, and then say, for example, Jamie will get on next and make like a comment about whatever I talked about. So it can be a conversation, and you're still seeing someone's face, and it's all in chronological order with everybody participating. And it's been phenomenal because I get to see people that I normally don't get to see as often. So that's kind of one of the silver linings that we found from the pandemic.
Sure.
Because even though we only get together once a year, this has been something, I mean, we have a million things to talk about still, but our catch-up isn't going to be nearly as long.
Yeah.
Which will lead to other things. More trouble, but that's okay.
Wow, that's really cool. I think it shows that there's that balance between life and social media. Physical life and social media.
Yeah.
But you had mentioned sports, and so it was on my mind. We had to go there because you're a fanatical fantasy football player. From what
I am. I love it. Fall is. I mean, there's that joke. The basic girl. I love fall. I love pumpkin spice lattes. I love fall, but I love fall because of football. And I hate a pumpkin spice latte. Those are disgusting. No, but I mean, and again, a lot of this has to do with family. Like my family would all get together and watch all of these football games all day long, every single Sunday. And this is something that my dad, for the longest time, had kind of wanted to happen. And once I started to get into football, then it made it a lot easier for it to become like an all-inclusive group thing. So, I mean, we had years where every single Sunday it was hanging out with my parents and just watching and swearing, me, mainly the TV, because someone has done something I don't like.
Yeah, it's my mom, though, why I'm an avid NFL fan. I love football, definitely my sport of choice, and it was my mom that was just a passionate football fan, and didn't matter. We're born and raised in Denver, so we're Bronco fans. But it didn't matter if it was that we'd go and we'd watch every Monday night game, Sunday night game together. So that's how I became passionate. So it was about family as well.
Yeah.
But so how did you get into fantasy in particular? I have been a lifelong fan since Super Bowl 21, the first year that the Broncos went. Not the first year, the second time that the Broncos went against the Giants and lost. That was the first season I ever watched football, and I've been watching religiously ever since, but I've never played fantasy football for not even one season.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Wow.
Especially considering I work in an office full of sports fanatics that are constantly doing leagues and everything else.
And predominantly male, yeah. I mean, and that's how I fell into it, was I was working in an office with a bunch of guys. I went from working in an industry that was all women, and when I went into working with an office full of guys, I was like, this is going to be amazing. There's going to be like so much less drama. And the first week I was there, they were doing a Biggest Loser contest, and I was like, did I make the right choice?
Ooh,
like,
that's a harsh thing for your first week.
There's a scale in the kitchen that they're all weighing themselves off of, and
man.
Doing their old wrestling moves where they'd put their garbage bag on and run around like before work.
Nothing more welcoming than a scale.
It was weird. I was like, now I'm back working with the ladies again. Like, what's going on here? So one of them mentioned that they had a fantasy football league, and I started by doing it with another gal. So the two of us shared a team, and we were horrendous. Absolutely terrible. Didn't know what we were doing. But I mean, the more you're in it, the more you start to recognize players, recognize potential. start to kind of like figure out how you can field a team. This is an extremely competitive league though. Like, I think I've been doing, oh my gosh, now that I think about it, I think that this could be maybe like my 12th year
Wow.
doing it. Yeah, I have 2 championships. Thank you, Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning. But yeah, I mean, it's just fun. And there was a ton of talk, you know, that happened around the office with everybody. And it's just, again, it's kind of like a camaraderie type of thing in a weird
Sure.
way. With my family, if you're not teased, you're not loved. So
Absolutely.
if someone isn't giving you a hard time, then they probably don't like you. And that's how this was.
That's
in
100%
this
how I am.
environment.
If someone ever gets offended at me teasing them, I'm like, that's how you know I like you. If I'm not teasing you, it's
Yeah.
probably because I don't like you.
If I'm not talking to you, if I'm not giving you any of my time, then that's because I
Yeah.
don't care. So, yeah, it was just, I mean, it was fun. It was great to participate and to meet people in the office, and to eventually get myself to a place, which I think that we all do in just about everything that we do, to where I was a force, you know? And I got to go buy handbags with all of my winnings and bring them in and show these guys who think that these are the dumbest things on the planet, but I bought them with their money. So I had to show them off, you know? I mean, it's those little things. Like, that's why you do it.
So what are your fantasy tips for this year? Who are your hot picks?
Boy, this year, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball, you know? So
How'd you do last year?
I got 4th. Last year was bad.
In a league of how many people?
12.
Okay.
Yeah. Made it to the playoffs, but here's the problem. I was shocked I made it. I had Dak Prescott, who pretty much had his ankle, you know, ripped off
Yep.
of his body. Mostert, who was injured all year, and Barkley, who was injured, I think, after the second or third game as well. So I just watched all of my players systematically go on injured reserve. And I was like, okay. I mean, and it's, like I said, it's very competitive. Waiver wires, always gone. Like, if you want somebody, you have to be able to grab them fast, and you're going to have to sacrifice somebody else. Like, this is not for the weak-hearted.
I love the passion.
I know. My dad always makes fun of me. Same with my brother. Like, the second that somebody doesn't perform well, Stacy's going to cut him. Who are you going to pick up? Well, you know, that's a really good question. Does he deserve to be on the team? So that's part of the fun of it, is beating somebody else to the punch, or even blocking somebody from a player. There's a real sick pleasure in that, knowing that they need someone and you can get them. You don't need them, but you just don't want them to have them.
You are a calculated competitor.
100%. Yes.
Wow.
I can't help it.
So do you have your teams all ironed out for this season?
I don't yet.
You don't?
Or do I?
I was wondering whether I could ask who you have, but you probably can't reveal this yet.
Kind of like,
So you haven't done a draft yet?
we haven't done our draft. We do our draft this Tuesday before Thursday games start, so there aren't any injuries that we have to deal with. And then we're also a keeper league. So we keep 2 players from our previous year. They just
Okay.
can't be the first or second round. I have Tyreek Hill. He's a trash person off field, but
Right.
he gets points. It's a real double-edged sword with that guy.
As a Bronco fan, I have to respect him as a player, but I despise him. He drives me crazy the number of times that he has just torched our team.
He I think they call him the cheetah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's arguably, if not definitively, the fastest person
One
in
of
the
the
NFL.
fastest guys. Yeah, the second
Yeah.
he turns it on, he's gone. And then maybe Kareem Hunt, just because running backs are hard to come by.
Sure.
So it's really interesting because, you know, we find that a lot of the first and second round, which are all these top players, people have kept because they kept them when they drafted them as, like, you know, in the 10th round or whenever.
Sure.
You know, I won my second championship because I drafted Peyton Manning in, I think, the 8th or 9th round, knowing that he had a neck injury and he wasn't going to play, so I just benched him. I held a bench spot all year long so I could keep him for the next
But
season.
you believed in him because you're a lifelong Colts fan.
I always believe in him.
Yeah. I love Peyton Manning. Not just because I'm a Denver fan and he brought a championship here. I always respected him at the Colts. Some of those miracle comebacks he did, I remember watching him live, just being astounded.
Yeah.
And I've never been a big Tom Brady fan. Like, he just rubs me the wrong way. They're both equally great, but if I had to hang out with one of them, hands down, Peyton Manning.
There's a difference
Yeah.
in the air that they
Yeah.
give off.
Their
For
persona.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So I agree with you on that. That's one of the reasons that I like him as well. I feel like he's humble. I feel like he gives credit to his teammates when it's necessary. And I don't feel like he's always out for himself. It's not a numbers game for him. It wasn't about championships. It was always just next step, one in front of the other. I told you it killed me when he came to Denver.
I was going to bring that up. So you're a Colorado native.
Yes.
Which there's very few of us, it seems like, anymore.
I know.
There's not a lot of us in any given
Not a
room.
lot left.
So then I almost felt betrayed when you told me that you despise the Broncos.
Yes, I was raised to despise the Broncos. My dad hated John Elway. John Elway was supposed to go to the Colts and said, I don't want to go. And that's not how my dad operates. If you are drafted to go somewhere, you go there. You do your job, and if you want to leave, you prove that you can leave. But he didn't like that kind of attitude, so.
Why do you think it is that bothered your dad so much? Did he ever expound on that?
My dad is a very honest, hard worker. My dad is probably one of the most kind, sensitive individuals that I'll ever meet, but he's 6'3", just like always has been athletic and a big guy. You would never guess, it was great to have him around because he intimidated, dudes. But at the same time, if anybody was gonna, go after someone because they broke my heart, it would be my mom, not my dad. But that's just how he was raised. You're here to do a job. You're asked to do a job. You've been hired to do a job. You do it and you do it well. So he doesn't have a whole lot of tolerance for that. So we weren't allowed to quit sports. If we signed up for soccer, we had to do soccer. We could quit at the end of the season, but there was no quitting when you were doing it. Absolutely not.
We touched on a little bit, but expand more. How did that kind of philosophy, so your dad definitely shaped the way you viewed the world. How did that philosophy impact you and shape you?
Oh, so much for the positive, because I am very hot-tempered, reactive. I'm just as sensitive.
Ridiculously competitive.
I'm just as sensitive as he is. I just express it in a different way. So I think, thankfully, he's kind of softened me and made me a better person in the sense that I can learn and have learned from him how to just take a different route. Like my way of, forcing, and I can bring a gun to a knife fight real fast if provoked. So he just kind of has let me know through the years, it doesn't always have to be that serious. It doesn't always have to be, so consuming. You can just let it go, move on, forgive, but you don't necessarily have to forget, stuff like that. So he's just, I don't know, he's a good guy. He's a great guy.
That's really cool. You speak very highly of him. It sounds like a neat man.
He's awesome.
So hypothetical then for you, kind of going back to this whole Broncos Peyton Manning thing. What if Peyton Manning ever became part of the Broncos organization from an executive level?
I think that the Broncos would benefit from that because
I agree,
whatever's going on
100%.
right now isn't working. John Elway stepping away, I think, is probably going to help you guys out a whole lot.
George Payton, I think, has made some good moves.
Yeah, I think that he's good in the business sense. He made a comment when Painter was stepping in for him when he was sitting on the sidelines and had his neck injury. And everybody was like, what are you going to do next? Are you going to coach? And he's like, I've been trying to coach this guy all season long. Do you see how successful it's been? It was terrible. It was not a good season. It was horrible for the Colts. It was heartbreaking to watch. But, he recognized that that's probably not where his strength is. So what is he going to do? He's going to figure out different avenues, and if he goes the business route of it, fantastic. I mean, who would you want to have working on your contract and making
100%. I was just curious if
Yeah.
that happened, if that would change your feeling of the Broncos, or is that just too hard set in your DNA that you'll always despise the Broncos?
I'm always going to despise the Broncos. I mean, I still wore my Colts uniform to the Broncos game. Some guy had the stones on him to be like, you're in the wrong jersey. And I was like, this is vintage, try me, let's go. No. So I'm always going to admire him as a player and an individual. And I think that whatever he wants to do next, great. If it means staying in Denver, then it means that maybe I'll get to bump into him someday and tell him,
I believe
thank
he
you
lives
for.
here.
He does live here. Yeah. I know. The day that happens, I'll probably, total fangirl out and say something dumb and black out and have my friends be like, that was terrible. So, I mean, there's part of me that doesn't want it to happen, and I always want it to be a possibility.
I got on a YouTube trail one time of watching awkward interactions with famous people and their fans.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, I feel so bad for them. It's so bad the way people gush over them at times. And you could see on their face, they're just dying inside, like, please make it stop.
They're very uncomfortable by this fan that has approached them. I hope I wouldn't do that, but...
I think Peyton would probably be very, very gracious in that scenario and find a way to de-escalate the situation.
He could be gracious. I'm pretty sure of that, but I would never forget it.
Yeah.
Also, I would never be allowed to live it down. I mean, that would be the ultimate with my family if anything like that ever happened. So...
Would your brunch crowd give you a hard time?
Everybody would.
Yeah.
100. Yes. I mean, like, my fondness of him is well known. I mean, I went to Indianapolis for my 30th birthday with my parents and my best friend to go watch a game. I was allowed to pick whichever one I wanted in October, and
Who'd they play?
One of the options was New England.
Oh.
And I was like, I just don't know if I can bring myself to watch a Peyton Brady matchup and have them lose. I want to go to Lucas Oil Stadium and, just have this amazing experience. So, a big coward, I chose Baltimore, the Ravens, and they just spanked them. It was 33-3, Peyton threw a 70-yard pass to Marvin Harrison for a touchdown, and I started to tear up, and my best friend was like, get it together.
It's just football.
This is ridiculous. But I was just so happy to be there. That was also the year that Brady completely blew out his knee, and they beat New England anyway. So that's my payback for being a wuss. I should have just said New England. Let's do this. But
that's like when you ever listen to those great competitors when they're like, are you hoping that, always hoping that the top seed gets knocked out early? The great competitors like, no, I want to go against the best.
You want to play against the best.
I know that I can beat anybody.
And it's also fun when the underdog wins. My brother is a Miami Dolphins fan. He had this obsession with Dan Marino when he was a child. The glove. Remember, I think he did isotoner glove commercials.
Yes, I forgot about those. I remember those now.
So, I'm not kidding. My brother got a pair of those gloves because it's what Dan Marino wore. And I was like, this is weird.
This kid wearing isotoners? That's hilarious.
Yes. So, he's been a Miami fan forever because he doesn't want to be fair weather. They're terrible. They're absolutely horrible. But
that's one of the roughest teams to be a diehard fan of. That's up there with the Lions.
Too,
yeah, the Lions, the Browns.
But, when they win, he's ecstatic for a month,
Yeah.
That's what you get out of that. So, two sides to the coin, right?
Absolutely. Well, let's bring it back to Thrive here. If someone's interested in checking out Thrive in the co-working space, how do they get in touch? Should they just pop down? Should they call you? What do they do?
We have so many ways for this to shake out. You can either walk through the door whenever you need to. On your schedule, we're open from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. You can schedule an appointment online with us to come in and take a tour off of our website. We have social media that can link through to get you a tour on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of them. So
you're everywhere.
You can find us. But we encourage everybody just to, come on in, and we love to have people work in the space after they take a tour. Check it out, see what the vibe is like, and also meet some of our members.
Sure.
See what the community's like, and see how it can work out for you. Because, like I said, it's about who finds the best fit. And I'm not disappointed when somebody goes to a different space. Sure, I would love to have them here, but when I hear that they found a space, I think that's fantastic for them. If it's a good fit, perfect.
Yeah.
Because my goal was always for them to succeed with their business.
Sure.
That can't change, just depending on where they
Well,
are.
and if they're not happy here, ultimately it would affect the overall vibe of the place.
Exactly.
And, you want that harmony and that cohesive vibe.
We have a pretty nice ecosystem right now. No need to mess things up. So just come on in and check it out, and we'll get you set up working in an office or a desk, whatever works best for you, and let's find out how it goes.
Cool. And then when we're done here, you're going to take us around and introduce us to some of the tenants.
Yes,
So we'll
definitely.
have that here shortly.
Yeah.
But before we do that, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I have some great long-term tenants, and then I have a new tenant as well.
Cool.
All with kind of interesting stories and great, business stories as well.
Looking forward to meeting them. But we have the really important question.
Yes.
Your top pick for brunch in Denver.
Oh, Bardo.
Where is that at?
That is located in Lodi. It's an Italian restaurant. They have a breakfast carbonara, which is fantastic. Eggs Benedict. That's where the cinnamon roll is as well. Bottomless mimosas, Aperol spritz, breakfast pizza. I mean, come on.
Sundays and Saturdays and Sundays?
Saturdays and Sundays.
Reservations recommended?
I would.
Cool. All right, Bordeaux. We'll have to check it out soon.
Yep.
Sounds good. All right. Well, Stacy, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us this morning, get to know you a little bit. It's been entertaining. I'm glad. If I start playing fantasy football, I'm not playing in your league to start off with. You sound vicious.
Don't come to our league. You need to dip your toe in the water first.
Apparently, yeah. You've scared me away.
But I mean, I'm happy to help.
Well, I appreciate that.
Reach out for questions, suggestions.
Well, thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks.